Well, good morning, YouTube friends and family, and welcome to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So today's going to be a little bit different video. We're going to do some preparation of a food to eat later that's very healthy, and then I want to sit down for a chat with you all about wellness. So I really appreciate all of the lovely comments that you all have been giving me as far as suggestions of things you would like to see. Because it's not that I can't think up things to do videos on, it's that I want to bring videos that are of great value to you, that add value to your life, that you are interested in. So this morning, I was getting ready to do all things kitchen because I realized it is going to rain all day today. And I have to tell you, it's been a long time since we've had 3 days in a row of steady rain where it becomes extremely difficult to get out in the garden. So I know come tomorrow and the next day, it's going to be very hot. It's only in the 70s here today, but it's going to be in the upper 80s. I'm going to have a lot of weed pulling and just general garden maintenance to do. So I thought I would take advantage of today to perhaps do a couple videos of things that I've had on the shelf to do for you. So to start with, I have not been videoing this process all along, but I thought I would share with you what I'm doing and then check with you and see, do you want me to do a series on it? I don't like to copy other YouTubers, but you all know, and I've done many shout outs to the Needy Homesteader, and she did a really interesting everyday video series on how to make your own sourdough starter. And this was probably like a year and a half ago, I'm thinking, and I neglected my sourdough starter in the refrigerator for like, I don't know, months. And so I'm starting over. So let me just show you what's involved. It's a very simple process. It's just a lengthy process. And then you can drop me a comment below if you would, please, and let me know, is this something that you would like a series on? So let me swing her around to start. And I have my handy dandy kitchen scale, and I have it set to grams. So this is day 4 on my starter. So see all of the lovely bubbles. I mean, it is a super happy starter and it's doing very well. Excuse me a minute. Okay. So I'm just going to stir my starter really well, and it's starting to have that liquor smell is what I would call it, alcohol smell, which is a good sign. It does not mean that it's spoiled. So I'm going to put my jar on the scale and zero it. So the process is each day you take some of your growing starter and then you feed it. And what you feed it with is rye flour and distilled water. I do not use tap water because my tap water contains chlorine, and chlorine can kill sourdough. So I'm looking for about 100 grams. And that never happens. I got exactly 100. So now you'll see I have a lot left. As you go along in your sourdough starter, you can use the pour off, if you will, to make pancakes, etc. I think it's too early, but we are going to, and I will tell you guys too, this stuff is like sticky as glue. So I'm just gonna get that off. And so I have 100 grams of the starter. I'm going to add to that 100 grams of rye flour and 100 grams of distilled water. And I will tell you, if I hit over, a little over the 100, as long as you're doing equal parts of each or very close to it, it's not a problem. The first batch that I ever did, I was like killing myself with the measurements, you know, like it had to be exact to the, you know, 1/10 of a gram. And now I'm like, yeah, as long as I get close. So that's 99. And we'll just add like a little scotch. And another little scotch. And maybe a little more. Okay. And I like to add my flour first and then carefully, let me zero this back out, add my water. This is usually where I overdo it. Okay. So I am going to add just a teensy bit more of flour so that is equal parts. Super simple, right? Now here's my measurer. I like using this type of spatula. I also prefer a wide mouth jar, but I am very limited on wide mouth jars. And as your starter matures, I will switch even to a 1/2 gallon jar, because you will start, actually starting tomorrow on day 5, you're going to be using 150 grams of each. And when your starter activates and starts rising, let me tell you, it will come out of the jar. I have had that happen. So let me just get this really good and mixed up, and then I'll tell you what you do with it. So easy. If you have a spot in your house that's nice and warm, that's the best place to put your starter. Now, when I started mine, I had started mine in cold months, and I was not having any luck with it being very active. And so what I ordered one and put it on is a seed warming mat. And I'm telling you, that was a game changer. Because in the winter, my house is 60 or 62 degrees, and that's just too cold for sourdough. I'm just wiping the inside, because let me tell you guys, this stuff is like cement, and I do not recommend you put this down your garbage disposal. I dispose of it in the garbage can. So I have just a normal paper towel here. I put a rubber band around it so it can still breathe, and then I'm going to put it over my step back cupboard on the seed heating mat, and I'm going to cover it because you want it in a dark place. Then tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, I'll continue to do this until I have an active sourdough culture, if you will, that can then be refrigerated and only needs to be fed once a week if you want to continue to make bread. So don't forget, drop me a comment below if you have interest. Stay tuned for a moment. I'm going to kind of red up this area, and then we're going to make something very interesting before we get into our wellness discussion. Well, welcome back. We are going to start making a new recipe, and I will be dropping this link to the book in the description box below. This is only $14.95, and it's called Recipes from the Herbalist's Kitchen. Delicious, nourishing food for lifelong health and well-being. So this is going to tie into our little wellness discussion. So, speaking of wellness, I believe it was my last video I was sharing with you that I still had this kidney stone and blah, blah, blah. So right as I paused the video, I paused it to do my cleanup here because I was in excruciating pain. Hope you couldn't tell. And I knew something big was happening. So let me share with you. I have passed a big kidney stone, and this note card does not do it justice. It's very barbed. And yes, I washed my hands before somebody makes that comment. So today I am bringing you a recipe for a fermented vegetable. Now, along with our wellness theme that we'll be talking about, why on earth would you ferment vegetables? Isn't that kind of like rotten vegetables? No, not at all. So I've had this book for a long time. It's called Fermented Vegetables, Creative Recipes for Fermenting 64 Vegetables and Herbs. So it has a lot of pickled vegetables, a lot of that. But why would you want to eat a fermented vegetable? So here's some of the perks, and I am going to read this to you. So these are not my opinions. These are written opinions from this book. It preserves and enhances vitamins B and C. It makes nutrients more readily available. It aids in digestion. It doesn't call for chemical preservatives, which is certainly part of my wellness journey. And it supports the immune system. So why not eat fermented vegetables? So y'all know my love of spicy foods. So when I saw this recipe, I was like, I must make it. So I wanted to bring you along. So I'm going to scoot you back, tip you down just a little bit, move over, because I always end up too close, and we are going to make thyme and jalapeno pickled carrots. Now, this process takes about a month, but I can do updates in upcoming videos, and if you all are interested, you can at least get started. So this morning, from my garden fresh, my first jalapeno, I'm super excited. A big bunch of thyme over here. My homegrown garlic here, and then carrots here. Now, I do not grow carrots because in Ohio, we have a lot of clay soil. My carrots get like this long. They're a lot of work. They take up a lot of room. And when you can buy organic carrots very easily at the grocery store for a nominal price, I don't worry about it. So that's all of my fresh things. So this is all non-GMO. This is all non-preserved, organically grown. So I know I'm starting with healthy ingredients, and that is a big part of what we'll be talking about. So what you need to do, I have here a quart jar. It is the wide mouth. I don't have very many of these. These are kind of sacred to me. So I am going to go on the hunt for another 12 pack of wide mouths. I've not seen a lot of wide mouths in our area. So what we're going to do, and I've washed everything well, is I'm going to put the whole jalapeno, you don't cut it, you don't anything, in the bottom of the jar. I'm going to top it with the thyme. So I think this is going to create some really interesting flavors. To that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of whole peppercorns, the garlic, and this says 4 garlic cloves, peeled and cut in half. And then on top of all of this, I'm going to pack in my carrots. So I am going to try to do this so they're not like hither and yon. They're in an organized fashion, so I'm just trying to put them in sideways because I can get my hand in a wide mouth jar. I cannot in a narrow mouth jar. So as I make sourdough, I have to change the jar every day, and I don't have enough wide mouth jars to use a wide mouth every day, and it's a bit challenging to get that sourdough goo out of the jar when it isn't a wide mouth. So as soon as I get it enough volume, I will be switching to half gallon wide mouth jar. All right, we are coming along here, getting those packed in. So whenever you're fermenting something, you want it to stay below the level of the brine or the liquid solution. So yes, let me pack these in really tightly. I had 4 pretty good sized carrots. And I also wanted to share this with you. I've shared it before, but I am going to leave a link. And guys, sometimes I forget to leave the link. Just leave me a comment if I do. What I've started doing, my life is on note cards, as I've started making notes when I do a video about what I tell you I will leave a link to. So if I've forgotten something, even from a previous video, let me know below. Okay, so I love this because it has a carbon filter, and I put all kinds of stuff. So I've got, in this one, I have potato peelings, I have a slice of the heel of a bread, I have eggshells, I have some herb stems and some foliage from roses that I had. And what I do is fill it up with water. It just makes it a little easier to dump it. Put it in my compost bin every few days when it gets pretty full. And then give it a stir periodically with a pitchfork. And I am telling you, it is some of the best compost you will ever have. And I do put, like my weeds from garden, I will put a little soil in there from time to time. You definitely need to water it. There's a whole science to it. Am I perfect with mine? No. But I do get a lot of good nutrient-dense soil, plus I'm keeping all of this food out of the landfill. So that's a win-win. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to make the brine. So what I have here is my great value distilled water. And guys, I hate paying for water, but let me tell you, my water here is chlorinated. Now there's two ways water facilities chlorinate, if you will, water. There's chlorine and there's chloramine. Chlorine, if you leave water 24 hours uncovered, the chlorine level will dissipate and go way down, or it be eliminated completely. So when I drink water, that's how I drink tap water. However, if you have chloramine in your water, it will not dissipate, period. So, which do you have? Call your water department and they will provide you with the analysis that you need of what's in your water. Anytime you're fermenting, whether it's sourdough, whether you're making a yeast bread, you do not want to use chlorinated water or chloramined water if you can avoid it, because it can kill the growth or certainly stunt it. So I've measured out 2 cups of water. Then I took a 1/4 cup out. I'm gonna pop that in the microwave, so let me do that real quick. Guys, I'm actually pretty proud of myself that I got that stone out of a trip to the ER. This is not a good thing, but with my lupus and psoriatic arthritis, I'm very accustomed to pain, and I have a pretty decent pain tolerance. But I'm telling y'all, if you've never had a kidney stone, which I had not up until I turned 60, you feel like you're passing razor blades. It is, I'd rather have a baby than to have a kidney stone, just saying. So I'm hoping, I don't think that's the big one. I know that I had 4 or 5 pieces in there, so, but it's out. I've quit sweating. I no longer feel like I'm going to be sick, so we're in good shape there. All right, so I just heated up this 1/4 cup of water because we are going to dissolve our non-iodized salt. So you can use pink Himalayan salt. I'm using sea salt because it is, and it'll say right on it, this salt does not supply iodine, which is a necessary nutrient. Let me tell y'all, we get plenty of iodine in our diet. If you eat anything from the store that has salt in it, I guarantee you it's iodized salt, unless it says differently. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of trouble here because I'm low. It's a tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons. Let's see if I can make this happen. Okay, there we go. So there's 1. And what we're trying to do is dissolve it. And I did about 40 seconds on high. Every microwave's a little different. Let's turn this the right way. All right. So there's the equivalent of a tablespoon, and you want to stir that around until it's well dissolved. I got some on the side, so we'll just mixy. Because you don't want your salt all concentrated, because part of the fermenting process is really just salt, liquid, non-chlorinated liquid, and vegetable. I added a lot of things for flavor to our beautiful jar of carrots. I cannot wait to try these. Okay. Once you're pretty well dissolved, and I think we are, so you got kind of a whitish looking liquid, you can go ahead and stir that into, yeah, I didn't get it all dissolved, the rest of your liquid. And I'm actually going to do a little rinsing here. Make sure I get all that salt. Now you want, depending on how you cut your carrots, it said 1/4 inch slices. I used 4, it says 4 to 5. I couldn't have gotten the 5th one in. You want to make sure that your carrots are covered by, I believe it's 1/4 inch, yes. If you don't have enough brine, make a little more. So let's see where we end up here. I think we're gonna be good, but, oh yeah. I have 1 carrot poking up. Get down in there. Okay, super simple so far, right? Now, I have this on my list to put in the description box. If you've never used these, Mason makes pickle pikes. And I am still seeing these in the store. So what it is a little rubbery type disc, kind of like a lid, but you see it has a nipple with a hole on it, and you can pinch that nipple, let the gases out, because as this ferments, it's going to make gas. So I'm just going to put that on there. I'm going to put my wide mouth band on, and then here are the next directions. As the fermentation progresses, gas will form inside the jar. Without actually taking the lid off, loosen the lid to release the pressure. You may want to do this over the sink, because sometimes if a lot is built up, it will shoot out. With the pickle pipe, all you have to do is squeeze it like this, and it'll let the gas out. Make sure you get all the air out, then tighten the lid or the ring back down, and let the jar ferment for another day. And you're gonna do this every day for a week. So I'm actually gonna take a Sharpie. If they ever quit making Sharpies, I'm in trouble, right? And I'm gonna, let's see, where's a good place to write the date? Jars are not always easy to write dates on, right? Let's see, today's the 13th. So put your date on, do it for a week. At the end of the week, we will take the lid off completely, making sure that the carrots are completely covered, because if they're not, they're gonna mold. You can add more brine if you've had some, oopage as you've been letting out the gas. Then you set it aside in a cool, dark place. So I'll replace the pickle pipe with just a flat, set it in my dark pantry, and let it sit for 4 weeks. It is very common that you'll see a white powdery film. That is a type of yeast from the fermentation process, nothing to worry about. I like pickling lemons too. You sometimes will get a little mold. You can pick it out. It is not gonna hurt you, I promise you, as long as it's on the surface. If it's penetrated into your vegetables, you're kind of in trouble. You can begin tasting after about 4 weeks in the dark. So I'll do a little follow-up video to show you what our carrots are looking like as we go along. So I'm gonna clean up this mess, hopefully not pass another kidney stone in the interim, or hopefully, yeah, just get them out, right? And then I wanna sit down to have a little chat with you about wellness. So I thought I would take the opportunity to sit down and have a little chat with you on the topic of wellness. So as an almost 1-year YouTuber, I've learned a lot in the last year. And what I've basically learned is I'm not everyone's cup of tea. My topics aren't always popular with everyone. And then there's always going to be those keyboard warriors who jump in and tell you how you're doing everything wrong, that you're fat, that you're ugly, all of the things that can be hurtful. But also I've had a lot of criticism about my channel name and the fact that I don't talk strictly on wellness. And sometimes I want to answer those folks and say, look up the definition of wellness in the dictionary, because wellness is really making those daily conscious choices to do things that are good for your health and well-being. So does that mean you're never going to eat a Little Debbie snack cake? No. Does that mean all your food is organic and perfectly pure and clean and you never stray from like the perfect diet? No. Do you always get the optimum amount of exercise a day? No. It's a focus on being your best well state that you can possibly be. So my journey, for those of you who are new, really started a little over 10 years ago. I had my first major spine surgery. It was my neck, and I go like this because this is where my incision is. And the surgeon said, don't worry, I put your incision in a wrinkle. And I'm like, what? Did he say I have a wrinkle on my neck? Which of course I have a lot of wrinkles on my neck now. But that was when my psoriatic arthritis just really was at its peak and began to really attack my spine and various other joints, which I'm sure you've all noticed. Believe me, I've had enough comments about it. You don't need to point it out because I live in this body. But at any rate, Then I developed systemic lupus. And that was when I really decided to change. That I needed to look at, as a nurse, now 40 years, what can I do to be healthier, a more well version of myself? That's hard to say. So it was really overwhelming at first because I wanted to do all the things, because I felt like everything that I was doing was wrong. So at that point in my career, I traveled extensively. And when I say travel, I went to California once a month, which is not an easy time change. It's 3 hours behind Ohio. So, you know, when we had required dinners at 9 o'clock California time, it was midnight Ohio time, very hard on my body. And I did a lot of eating out and convenience foods because I was on the go all the time. And I had to draw that line and say, no, my health is worth it. So I went on a lot of different journeys until I settled into where I am now, and I feel like I'm in a really good place. But you watching may be wondering, you know, there are probably things that I can do to improve my wellness, and I don't know where to start. So I have here for you some easy ways to start a path to wellness or healthy living. So the first thing has to do with eating. Now let me tell you guys, this can be totally overwhelming because one day on the news you hear that we should be eating canola oil, and the next day you hear on the news, oh my gosh, canola is GMO, it's gonna kill us all, right? So there are so many varied sources of information, and it changes on the daily. As a nurse of 40 years, I remember when I first started practicing as a nurse, we had glass IV bottles. We didn't have all of the cool things, the needleless systems to drop medications to protect us from needle sticks. So many things have changed, and they continue to change. And really, food and wellness and what science is discovering about the foods that are available to us, it changes on the daily. So first thing I'm gonna say is don't get overwhelmed. I'm gonna talk about 4 areas that you can really change your eating up and start down maybe a healthier eating pattern. I'm not going to say you must have a garden, you must grow everything organically. I didn't start there from day one. I had garden, I did not grow organic. I'm just telling you, more chemicals the better. Got to kill them bugs. Don't want them eating those bugs don't want them eating my tomatoes, right? So a few simple swaps don't overburden you. And if you're cooking for a family, it's not off-putting to your family, like, oh, this tastes terrible. And you don't have to all of a sudden start, you know, having millet cereal millet birdseed for breakfast every day. So there are 4 things that you can start making from scratch that are not difficult. One thing I will say, and I think when I first started cooking from scratch, this is a mistake I made. Cooking from scratch is only as healthy as the ingredients you're putting into it. So if you're cooking from scratch, but you're still using a GMO foods that have a lot of chemicals and preservatives in them as ingredients in your homemade item, you're really no better off. You may slightly decrease what's in your food that is non-desirable. So do think about, be mindful of a recipe, what you're making has the highest quality ingredients that you can afford and source. And I'm here to tell you guys, my pantry is not 100% organic. There are a few dirty, as they call them, fruits and vegetables that I do spend the money to go buy organic if I'm not growing them. I'm sorry, my mouth still having that problem. So number 1, bone broth. So bone broth right now is kind of the new, let's all eat greens and green powder in our smoothies. However, I'm here to tell you there are some very valuable aspects to bone broth. So I do have some notes here, and you're gonna see me looking down because I'm careful when I quote sources to quote the source and not say this is my opinion, although I agree with this. So there there are a lot of good recipes for bone broth. Bone broth is not stock. So not being a huge meat eater, making my own bone broth can be a little challenging, but it's doable. So here's a couple things to know. The difference between broth and bone broth is the length of time it cooks to extract the marrow from the bones and a lot of the gelatinous components that are nutritious and that help us be more healthy. If you are using bones from grain-fed animals versus grass-fed beef, you are actually not doing yourself a whole lot of good. I hate spending money on high quality meat, but it is necessary. I order most of my meat. You've all seen me do an Aldi haul. It is not grass-fed, but I'm not buying bone-in meats that I'm using for bone broth. I have an Amish place about an hour or so from me where I can source bone-in beef, bone-in chicken that is non-GMO feed or grass-fed on the beef side. So let me just share with you, in the American diet, and I'm quoting from Healthfully, it's common to overconsume omega-6 fats and underconsume omega-3s. We all know omega-3s are good for our heart. Grass-fed meat is a really easy way to get omega-3s. If you go with grain-fed beef, you're actually getting omega-6s and not omega-3s. So if you're going to go to the work and trouble of making bone broth, and you should, and then you can can it, you can refrigerate it, you can make it a batch at a time. You can actually freeze your bones until you're ready to make a batch of bone broth. If you can it, it would be pressure can, just saying. So there are a few ways. You can do it in a stock pot on the stove. You can do it in your Fresh Tech canner if you have one of those. You can do it in a crock pot, or you can do it in an Instant Pot. If you do it in an Instant Pot, Google for a recipe, but it's generally 360 minutes, which is 6 hours, on low pressure to extract all that goodness from the bones. And then once you have that bone broth, use it not just for soups, but to make your noodles, to make rice. You could use it to make instant mashed potatoes. It's gonna add a lot of flavor, and it's not something that your family is going to object to. So that is a good way and an easy way to start. Now, if you don't have bones or you don't eat cuts of meats with bones, chickens are always good. But let's say you're like me and you really don't eat a lot of beef that's bone in, talk to your butcher. Talk to a processing facility where you can buy half of a cow and then maybe they have like a lot of bones left over that they would be willing to sell. Since bone broth is a very hot item, and you can even buy bone broth protein powder, by the way, now, it may be a little bit harder to get things that used to be, oh yeah, sure, you can have the bones for free, but it's worth the money invested. So that's my tip number one. Number two, breads. You all know I love to make bread. And I am going to go on a little adventure because not only am I working on my sourdough starter, which I'm going to use as leavening or the rising agent, I want to try einkorn flour, which is an ancient grain from corn that is non-GMO. It's extremely pricey, but I'm going to invest in my health and try it, and I'll bring you some information when I get to that point. So you can use whole grains. You can invest in a grain mill. I have a grain mill on my KitchenAid mixer, and yes, I do buy whole wheat berries so I can grind them through the grain mill and have my freshly ground whole grain flour. Guys, here where I live, you would think in a farm community I could source all sorts of things that are whole grain flours, and you cannot. And part of the reason for that is spoilage rates are high, and you can go to Walmart and buy a 25-pound bag of highly processed bleached white flour for a much lesser price. So I am trying to incorporate more grains and seeds into my homemade bread making. Learning sourdough is also very important. You know, probiotics are also a buzzword of the 2020s, and eating things that are fermented, or like yogurts or kefir or sourdough, and I'm pointing here because my sourdough is over here, are great ways to have a healthy gut. So consider making your own bread. If you're overwhelmed by starting from scratch, you know, making it without the benefit of a bread machine, guys, every time I go to the thrift store, or the Goodwill, there are tons of bread machines. They are not that expensive nowadays. I had the same bread machine until I got my Zojirushi. I received mine the very first year I was married, so 1981, and I had used it almost 20 years, and it still worked great. I had the manual, I cleaned it up, I donated it to the Goodwill. So look for bread machines. They're great whole grain bread recipes that you can make in a bread machine. The third area, I'm gonna call it condiments. So you've all seen my grocery hauls where I've bought the Skinny Girl salad dressings. And I did that from the standpoint of losing weight. And I apologize, guys. My little text is going off. It is full of so many chemicals. I shouldn't be eating it at all. So I have done videos on how to make your own homemade vinegars. And I started thinking about it and I thought, why am I not using non-GMO olive oil and my homemade vinegars and doing an oil and vinegar dressing that's way more healthy, that has way more flavor and nutrition than what I'm going to get from bottled salad dressing. So think about those easy switches. I've done videos on how I make my own mustard. No preservatives, no weird additives. I make my own ketchup, albeit I made enough for like 14 years, but some of those little sneaky things that go into your diet, like lots of ketchup, barbecue sauce, mustard, those type things, you can make yourself at home, actually much less expensive and much healthier. Drop me a comment below if you would like to learn how to make your own homemade mayonnaise, because I do still love mayonnaise and I love eating it, but most mayonnaises nowadays, not all, are heavy on the GMO side because of the oils they use. And you can make mayonnaise from a few simple ingredients in a mason jar with a stick blender and use healthy avocado oil. A little pricey, but delicious. All right, the fourth thing is yogurt. So I've already spoken a little bit about probiotic things, and you know, we have a lot of folks in the US that have sick gut. They have irritable bowel. I mean, turn on the TV. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll get to that in a minute. Hey sis, it's you. It's you, girl. It's my sister from another mother. Hi, Sharon. The Instant Pot is great for making your own yogurt. I tried to make my own yogurt like the old-fashioned way. It was a mess. The Instant Pot actually has a yogurt setting, and all you need is milk and some yogurt that's already pre-made, so you can keep making that yogurt. Great food for your gut. I would just caution you, make sure the milk that you're using is of good quality. I don't particularly drink a lot of cow's milk, but I do like my yogurt. And you can make everything from a regular yogurt that's thinner to a Greek yogurt, which is much thicker. Super easy, great for your family. You can add spices, you can add berries, you can add granola. You can sweeten it with honey or maple syrup so that you're not having, you know, high fructose corn syrup like you get in the little containers of yogurt. So that is another tip that I would suggest that you start making homemade. A lot of people like kefir. Kefir is made from an ancient grain. I have never made kefir, so I'm thinking about it. So I guess my message here to you is wellness is a process, guys. I'm always looking at ways to tweak. You know, with the pandemic, I don't eat out. Now, I'm not going to get into like the vaccine discussion. Vaccines aren't something that everyone can take, okay? Just leave it at that. I'm still wearing a mask. I have used so many bottles of hand sanitizer, I can't even tell you. I wash my hands a tremendous amount, but you know what? I haven't been sick since I think I had COVID pre-start of the pandemic. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because for my health and my immune system, that's what's best for me. So I'm not eating out a lot, and I've been more aware of what I'm putting in my body. I've been cleaning pantry, I've been working on garden, and there are so many little changes that you can make that won't be off-putting to your family, but yet make a difference in your overall wellness. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause here, and we are going to talk about staples in your pantry you can swap out for an improved health. I'm gonna go talk to my sis a minute, and I'll be right back. So back to staples to swap out that your family probably won't object to. So I've talked a lot about GMOs, and in case you're just like, what is a GMO? It's a genetically modified organism. So they are changing different grains that they're extracting fat from so that they are more disease resistant, so that they grow better. But we really don't know long term what that is going to do to our immune systems and our health. So anytime you purchase canola oil, it is all heavily GMO. I have never seen non-GMO canola. Drop me a comment if you have. Soy, all vegetable oil is GMO. Now, I'm allergic to soy, so that's not a problem, but your Crisco's, your Crisco oil, that is all heavily GMO. Much better, in my opinion, if you need a solid fat, to use lard instead of Crisco. Sugar beets are also GMO, so your sugar may be GMO. So how do you get rid of that? Well, simple. Use coconut oil. Now, I hate coconut. And a lot of the coconut oils can flavor your food, so I don't like it as much. But you can use avocado oil, you can use olive oil, that's better for you. You can also use organic butter. So those are just some suggestions. Your family probably will not notice that you've changed oil sources for them, and you'll all be healthier for it. The second thing we've kind of touched on is flours. So if you don't have a grain mill, look and see if one is available, if you have the stand mixer, or purchasing like a real grain mill. I have not done that yet. They're a couple $100s. It's on my wish list. My son usually buys me one nice gift, so I'm gonna kind of hint about the grain mill. Hi, Ben. I already talked about einkorn, and I want to investigate more about that. And that lowers your gluten level. If you have gluten problems, might be a good option. But getting away from the highly bleached and processed flours. Now, I will tell you, bread is going to taste different, so you may have to do sort of a gradual switch. Oats, organic, steel cut whole oats are a good thing to put in bread. That will at least make it healthier than just using straight up bleached processed bread flour. The next area, and I just grabbed a couple, is salt. So most table salt, the Morton, girl with the little umbrella, is iodized, but it is devoid of the minerals that are important to our health and well-being. We get plenty of iodine in our diet if you consume anything that is not salt-free, that is processed or, made commercially. I use sea salt. I also use a lot of black salt. This is Hawaiian black salt. And then, of course, Himalayan pink salt. And this is just a few of the different salts I have. You can buy smoked Himalayan salt that is absolutely delicious. I have so many different kinds of salt, and I was amazed at how much better my food tastes. And I'm not a heavy salter, but if you even eat pretzels or potato chips or tortilla chips from the store, you're getting plenty of iodine in your diet. Now, I'm not giving you medical advice. Always check with your physician before you make any major changes to your diet. And then the final swap that you can make for your family and for yourself is quality meat. So I don't eat a lot of meat, so it makes sense for me. I order twice a year. Normally I'm not at the store buying meat, but you've all seen me doing it when I can get that half price meat at Aldi. So you have to have a balance. What can you afford? What can you source? I order meat from a antibiotic, hormone-free, grass-fed, Porter Road is the name of it. And I do order twice a year. It goes in my deep freeze. I don't consume a whole bunch of meat, but I do try to make sure that the meat that I am sourcing is, for the majority, quality. So I hope you found this discussion on ways that you can improve your pathway to wellness and health. Drop me a comment below. Do you enjoy videos like this? Is this the type of topic that you hope I bring you more of? As always, be well, be healthy, be blessed, and I will see you all very soon. Take care. A little bonus footage here. Looky puppy. So I do subscribe to the Cat Lady box, and this is a monthly subscription. Frankie absolutely loves it. He knows what it is. He's been sitting on the box waiting for my mom to finish yapping on her YouTube video. So I am going to open it and just share a little Frankie with you. So let me swing it around here. Oh, is that for Frankies? Is it for Frankies? Is it babies? Uh-oh, how do you get in it? So hurry up, my mom. You slow. I got figured. Oh, I got in it. Where is it? Is it for Frankie? What is it? These are babies? Yeah, that's a baby for Frankie here. You want the babies? Yes. Oh, you got a new baby. So it always comes with a really cute card, and it talks about each one of the items. And there's items for the cat mom or dad, as well as the cat. So this is his Sunny Sunshine catnip toy. Look at babies. You know you want more. Okay. So this month, and you'll see this in an upcoming video, me are my sunshine. So t-shirt for me. Frankie's like all about the box, right? Oh, there's a baby. Yeah, get that baby. Get that baby. Frankie really likes toys. I've had a lot of cats, but oh, you got the baby and you love it. It's a macaroni. I got a cat nightlight. You can't get that. There you go. Oh, get that. Get that baby. You're frustrated? Here, there's your macaroni. So just a cute little cat nightlight. Looky, looky. Oh, he loves the babies. He loves it. It's going to be on a catnip. Here you go. Here's your macaroni. And here's your little sunshine. Oh, you love it so much. You love it so much. And he really likes the box too, because it still smells like catnip. And then the last item. Oh, this is really cute, but this will be great for Aldi shopping. It's just a little canvas tote with kitty cats all over it. So I can leave a link to the website. I hope you all have enjoyed watching Frankie here's your baby, get his little prize. And he did sit very good and very patiently and quietly waiting for my mom to get busy and open that box. So again, be well, be healthy, be blessed, and I'll see y'all very soon.